Hey everyone, how's it going? Today we're going to be going over and showing you how to install the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver here on a 2015 Nissan Xterra. So this is what our trailer hitch looks like installed on the vehicle here. Now it does sit out from the bumper a little bit, but it has a nice black powder coated finish, which really gives it a great overall appearance, and it's also going to help protect the hitch from rust and corrosion over time. So adding a trailer hitch to your Xterra, it's going to be an excellent option because it's going to make your vehicle that much more versatile. Now we can obviously use a trailer hitch for towing, but let's say we wanted to hit the trails or just simply free up some space inside the vehicle for us and the family on those long road trips, we could easily attach either a hitch mounted bike rack or a hitch mounted cargo carrier. So in regards to towing, our trailer hitch is going to provide us with a 4,000 pound gross trailer weight rating. That's the amount we can pull outward. And it also has a 400 pound tongue weight rating, which is a downward force on the receiver tube. Now keep in mind, these capacities are for the hitch only, which is tested separately of the vehicle. Therefore, we do need to verify the vehicle's towing capacity in the owner's manual and abide by the lower of the two rated components, whether that's the hitch or the vehicle. Also, keep in mind, our trailer hitch can be used with a weight distribution system should you have the need to use one, and in which case our capacities will increase to 6,000 pounds and 600 pounds respectively. So the opening size of our receiver tube is an industry standard 2" by 2", so you're going to have plenty of those accessories to choose from, whether that be a ball mount, a bike rack, or cargo carrier. On the side of the receiver tube, we have our industry standard 5/8" diameter hitch pin hole. Now keep in mind, our hitch pin and clip is not included, but you really shouldn't need to purchase one of these separately because a lot of your aftermarket accessories are actually going to come with their own. But if you do need one, we have plenty of options here at eTrailer. And then we have our safety chain loops welded to the bottom of the receiver tube. Those are going to work great with both the smaller S-type as well as the larger clevis style. So a couple measurements here for you. They're going to help you when you're selecting your hitch mounted accessories. The first one is the distance from the ground to the top inside edge of the receiver tube opening. You're looking at about 18 3/4 inches, so that'll be useful when you're selecting a ball mount. That way you can make sure you get the correct rise and drop to tow your trailer level. And on this vehicle here, the hitch pin hole extends outward from the rear bumper, so you're not going to have any issues with your folding accessories hitting the vehicle. So in regards to installation, this hitch is pretty straightforward. There's no modifying to the vehicle, thankfully. Now ours was kind of rusty under there, so it did make installation a little bit more difficult, but certainly still doable. Your installation difficulty is going to vary depending on the condition of your vehicle. Now keep in mind, we can certainly do this on the ground. There's plenty of room to work under there, so you don't need to worry about lifting it in the air. And for the most part, it's just common hand tools that we're going to need. There is one though you might not have, that's a torque wrench, but you can actually rent this for free from most local auto parts stores. Let's go ahead and jump into that installation now. Give yourselves around 1 to 2 hours depending on your experience. So the first step of our installation today, we're going to be lowering our spare tire, but don't worry, we will be reinstalling it later after we put the hitch in place. So the tools you need to do this are going to be located underneath the rear seats in the vehicle. So if you need help with this, make sure to reference your owner's manual. But we'll go ahead and temporarily lower that down now. So the next thing we need to do once we have the spare tire out of the way, we're going to come over here to the passenger side of the frame, and we're going to be temporarily removing our exhaust hanger bracket. This is held in place with 3 bolts, 1 on this side, 2 on that side. Now ours is kind of rusty, so we're going to go ahead and spray them down with some penetrating oil. Let that sit before we try to get them out. Next we'll take a 12mm socket and we'll do the best job we can removing those 3 bolts. So now that we have the exhaust hanger bracket loose, as you can see here, it's not going to hang down much, but it's going to get it off the frame, which is basically just what we're looking for here. So now we're going to move on to our bumper beam bolts. So you're going to have 3 bumper beam bolts holding the bumper to the frame. We need to remove these bottom 2 bolts here. You're going to leave that one in place. Now, if yours is rusty like ours, you want to take some penetrating oil just like we did with the exhaust hanger bracket. Spray these bolts down, let those sit a couple minutes, and we can begin removing them. You're going to need a 19mm socket. You'll also likely need a breaker bar. And if you start to get too much resistance, you can actually go back and tighten the bolt up a couple turns as well. Sometimes that'll help. And then every couple of inches that you get the bolt out, or every quarter inch I should say, come back with some penetrating oil, spray that in there, and then let it sit a little bit longer. So next we're going to turn our attention to the weld nut in the frame, this one located here. So we actually need to use this to secure our hitch, and as you can see, ours is pretty rusty. So we're going to start by spraying some lubricant inside the weld nut and cleaning it out with a wire brush, and then we're going to try to thread our bolt in, but I can already tell now that this isn't going to be enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a thread tap and we're going to run it down through there to clean out the threads. Now we don't have a thread tap, so what we did is we just took a bolt that was the same size as the one we're going to be using and cut a couple slits in there, which kind of does the same thing as a thread tap. So we're going to take some time here and make sure that's nice and clean so our new hardware can thread in. So now that we have all of our weld nuts cleaned out, we're going to go ahead and prep our hardware, because the next step is just to raise your hitch into position. So in your kit, you're going to get two different size bolts here. So the larger two bolts, you're going to be placing a split lock washer over. We need two of these per side. And then the smaller two bolts, you only need one per side, and you'll be using a conical tooth washer with the teeth facing in. So the conical tooth one is going to install into the weld nut into the frame that we cleaned out. And then our two larger bolts are going to replace the factory bumper beam bolts. So it's going to be the same on both sides. We're going to go ahead and lift our hitch into position now. You will need to pull down on the exhaust in order to get it into position. So now with an extra set of hands, we'll go ahead and raise our hitch up into position. Keep in mind, you do have to come up and over the exhaust first on the passenger side. So I went ahead and installed that smaller bolt at the top there, and then I can kind of pivot the hitch into place and line up our other two holes. So now that we have all of our hardware in place, we're going to begin tightening it down. We're going to start with these bolts up here using a 19mm socket, and then we're going to switch over to these two, which are going to require a 22mm socket. So now that we have all of our hardware snug, we'll come back with our torque wrench here and torque everything down to the specifications in your instructions. And now that we have the hitch torqued down, the only thing left to do is to re-secure our exhaust hanger bracket and raise your spare tire back up into position. So now that we have the spare tire up into position, that's going to do it today for our look and installation of the CURT Trailer Hitch receiver here on a 2015 Nissan Xterra.